Anthony, I made it to Canada.
You're hiding in Canada.
Well, you know, they were going to find me down in the state, so I had to run.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. We got Anthony Melchiori. I'm Glenn Hausman. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. Anthony, it's so great to see you this week. Man, it has been an insane few days trying to make sure that I was able to cross the border and get up here into Canada.
Well, listen, I've been to 50 countries, and the toughest crossing is from here to Canada. We had so much difficulty every time we went into Canada. So what was your experience like?
All right. First of all, my experience was like you have to get this PCR test before you're allowed entry, and it has to be done with
Even though you're vaccinated.
Even though I'm double vaccinated. And I just read that it looks like I have to do the same thing in order to get back home. So that's going to be an interesting experience trying to figure out how to get to Phoenix in the lodging conference next week. I'm sure I'll work it out. I'm not too worried, but I went and I got my test. I was a good boy. I made my appointment in advance, Anthony. I went last Wednesday. I got my test. I got it back on Friday. And then I started reading the Delta's information. And apparently, Anthony, the test needs to be done within 72 hours, not get the results within 72 hours. So I screwed that all up.
That doesn't make any sense.
It's very difficult because all these places tell you it'll take 2 to 3 days to get it back. So how are you supposed to time this thing in order to get it right so I can go and I could do my travel and I could do business and stuff like that? So I completely panic. You know, I start having nearly an anxiety attack, the panic attack, the whole thing. And I found a place to go do it. I go up to the Walgreens. And I go and I do the test at Walgreens. I show up at Walgreens. You have to self-administer it. It's through the drive-through. I get to the drive-through. There's a big sign under there, on there, and it says, "Hey, we don't have the phone doesn't work. All COVID testing canceled." I'm like, "Holy crap!" Right? And I've got this important speaking gig I'm doing.
When was this? When was this?
This was on Friday afternoon. I had to cancel Friday night audit because I had to go running to go try to get this test. I get there. They tell me it's canceled. I go running into the store. I beg, I plead. We worked it out. I go, I self-administer the test. And then they're like, okay, we have a backlog. You're not going to get this back for 3 days, the day after I leave to Canada. So I'm completely freaking out. I don't know what to do. On Saturday morning, I'm now 24 hours or less from going. I found a place in Brooklyn that does same-day testing. I drove all the way to Brooklyn like a crazy man on Saturday morning, got the thing up my nose, did the test. They sent it to the lab. They told me I was going to be back at 4. They close at 5. It's 4:45. I have no results. I'm freaking out at this point because everything seems to be against me going to go to Canada to do this gig. So I call them and they're like, don't worry, the lab stays open at night. And by the way, she shouldn't have told you 4 o'clock. It'll be more like another few hours. So,
but you'll get it.
Whew, it came through at 9:30 at night, but until then I was a little anxious. So I managed to get on the plane, and it's amazing. They check your Vax card. They checked you have to fill out you have to go to a special website or app called Can App for entering Canada and fill out all of this stuff in order to get in. So I had to go and do all of that. And then you have to show that form, your Vax card, your negative test. They did it like 3 times going along. And I'm just getting more anxious and more anxious. You're right, Colleen. I need to freaking breathe. All this is bringing back nightmares for me, Colleen. So, I'm really building up in my mind now. How difficult is it going to be to like get through the border patrol, because it's already difficult, as you mentioned, right?
Well, what's interesting is you're a very, very highly seasoned travel professional.
Right.
So you almost had a nervous breakdown because you had an appointment, like lots of people when they're traveling for business have an appointment in other countries.
Right.
And it took you to your wit's end. And my daughter actually had to have a PCR test because she plays on volleyball team and she's in college. And I guess somebody in her group had a scare, so she had a test, and she couldn't go to class or go to her volleyball game until she had a PCR test, which takes 3 or 4 days. So we found a place in Westchester for $150. She got it back in like 15 minutes. Is that what you? Yeah. How much did you pay?
Mine cost $225, and I got it back within 8 hours. But
yeah, hers was literally 45 minutes. $150. It's in Westchester. So if anybody needs it, DM me and I'll find it for you.
Yeah, and apparently at certain airports around the country, you could actually do that too. So the
Oh,
lesson
really?
I learned is you could go and figure that out. Yeah, it turns out I was at Minneapolis St. Paul Airport for my layover to fly into Calgary, and then there were people on there with something called Wander app or something like that. So I said, "Hey, where'd you get that? Just curious." And like they have it there. You can do it within 45 minutes at the airport for 200 US. So
Oh, wow.
very convenient, especially if you show up 3 hours earlier and you realize you screwed up, right?
Yeah. Well,
So Anthony, I got more to my story, but I think there's something you need to do real quick. Right?
Go ahead. Keep telling your story. I'll be right back with more real people.
All right. Well, we're gonna wait for Anthony to come back. But in the meantime, one of the things I want to do is I want to thank all of the good people over at Radisson Hotels because they're supporting us through the end of the year. I'd really love for you guys to consider thinking if you're investing in a new build hotel or taking one of your properties and converting them. Please reach out to the good folks over at Radisson. Phil Hugh over there, their chief development officer, a great, amazing individual who will treat you right. Jim Alderman, their CEO, is doing an amazing job at reinventing their company. This is different than anything Radisson has ever done before. This is speaking to a guy, it's coming from a guy that has been focused on following Radisson for the last 25 years. So please do me a favor, give them a shot. If you're thinking about developing hotels, go to RadissonHotelsAmerica.com. And then you can find their development section right there. All right, so we're waiting for Anthony to come back. I'll finish the rest of my story. But Colleen is saying, is there a reason the lighting is darker on the top half of your head? I don't know what's going on over here. There's lights over there. I got this light over here, but that looks horrible. That looks horrible. That looks horrible. That looks passable. I don't know. I promise the rest of the week we're going to do better. To give you guys a little update on what's going to be happening for the rest of the week, this afternoon, I'm going to be interviewing the CEOs of the Alberta Hotel Lodging Association. That's the event I'm going to be speaking at tomorrow, as well as the president and CEO of the British Columbia Lodging Association. So I'm going to have two great Canadian leaders to talk all about what they're experiencing right now in their hotels. I've got some more information to share how the rest of the week's going to go, but that'll kind of step a little bit on the rest of the story that I want to tell from there. So Anthony is not back yet. So I'll tell the rest of the story while I'm waiting for Anthony to get back. So wait, here he is. Talk about amazing timing. So Anthony, so I get to Canada and now I've worked myself up to be all freaked out about how difficult it's going to be to get into Canada because they've always been more of challenging to get into. It's amazing.
Very difficult.
It's amazing to me that it was easier for me to get into China in 2014 than it's ever been for me to get into Canada. However, they seem to have changed their system a little bit. Now they have machines like they do when you're entering JFK and you could declare everything you need to do.
Right.
So, I got the printout. I went up to the gentleman there. He's like, "Why are you here?" And I said, Anthony, I practiced what I was going to say for days in my head because I wanted to be very clear and not have him have any situation that he wanted to create. Right.
So when he asked you,
Right. So I'm like, yes, sir. I've been invited by the president and CEO of the Alberta Hotel and Lodging Association to speak at their event tomorrow to help hoteliers that have been suffering in the crisis to find solutions to improve their businesses. Right.
What did he say?
Are you going to be doing anything else? I'm like, yes, I'm going to do some podcasts. It's like, okay, you're free to go. So boom, I was through. I got my luggage. I was out, and then I go to get my car because I have to drive 3 hours up to Edmonton because to get from New York to Edmonton right now because of flight schedules would have required several airlines and 4 flights. So I figured why not take a fun drive in Canada? So I go up to the car rental counter and they're like, "Thank you, Mr. Hausman, but
We don't have your car.
You got your car downtown Calgary, not here at the airport." Right. By this point, though, I'm like, okay, no big deal. I've been through enough. I've got over the border. So I grabbed a cab, went downtown, got to my location, and it's a good thing too. She's like, you could get a car here at the airport, but honestly, it'll cost you 1,000 more Canadian dollars to rent the car here. You made a good mistake. So
1,000 more. How much is that US?
I'm paying $775 US. I think it's like 800, 850. Feel free. We could go to xe.com.
So even 800 more?
Yeah.
800 more.
Yeah.
Wow. How many days are you renting it for?
I'm there for the week because Canada, this is such a big place, right?
Right.
So I grabbed the car. I drove up to Edmonton. Great hotel here. I'm at the JW Marriott in the Ice District. Apparently, they built a brand new arena there a few years ago. This is a whole new section of town, revitalized, reinvented. It's absolutely beautiful. And then Wednesday, Anthony, I'm excited to say, because some people that were organized with Travel Alberta got scared about doing these interviews because a declaration of emergency was put into place here starting today here in Canada, or at least in Alberta, that we've got Heather McCrory, the CEO of Accor North America, who's going to be joining us. And I love that. She started at the Fairmont Banff, Anthony, and I'm blessed enough that I'm going to stay there on Wednesday and Thursday night. So that's
great.
Yeah.
So I may have my travel keeping me in Florida Wednesday, so I may miss the show on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Yeah, it depends. I may do it from Florida. It depends on my flight.
Okay. Well, hopefully
so your business sounds so glamorous. You travel, you do podcasting, you go to international countries to do speeches. It is so glamorous, Glenn.
Yes, I know. And listen, I want to thank the people at Travel Alberta for doing the best that they could. And I've still got a great Friday night audit set up on Friday from a small town called Canmore in the mountains, which is going to be amazing. But those people had to drop out, and it left us scrambling here at the last minute to try to put together great content.
Are you still able to do it? Because I know in Canada, if you break the law, they'll come. The troopers will come and get you.
I'm very scared about all of that, but I've got my vaccine card now in my wallet because I'm going to need that every day. I've got a whole supply of masks and stuff.
When you're walking around the street, you have to wear a mask in the street.
It's just indoors.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're not crazy. But I have one question to ask, and I kind of know the answer to this, Anthony. I board the flight from Minneapolis to Calgary. Everybody on the plane must be double vaccinated. Everybody on the plane must show a negative test. Why do we all have to still wear masks? Now, I get that they can't have different policies. It's easier just to have one policy. But these are the types of things that start to make me wonder about some of the rules.
I think at this point, it's to protect the steward or the flight attendant and the pilots, because they're traveling all day long, 5 or 6 days a week. So in case that one person got it within 72 hours, because it's possible that you test and within 72 hours you're in contact with somebody and you get on a plane and you're sick. So it is possible.
It is possible.
So for me, if I was getting on a plane, I'm less concerned. But if I'm a flight attendant, I'd be more concerned. With that said, I think 50%, 2 years from now, after hopefully the pandemic is almost beaten, 50% of the people on the flight, even if they don't have to wear a mask, will be wearing a mask.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Listen, I'm sick every time I travel. I was always sick. I never got sick, and then when I was traveling so much, for 2 years in a row, the last 2 years before the pandemic, I was sick, but I was living with it. I was always sniffling or coughing, and I always had a little bit of a cold. So I may even wear my mask on a plane.
Yeah, that's not really a bad idea. And listen, I totally agree with you. And I agree with Kim's sentiment that Suzanne had already put up. Makes sense. I agree with that. It's also just easier. And I don't even feel the mask anymore. You wouldn't get this, Anthony. It's a total Jew thing. But when I was going to shul growing up, you'd have to wear the yarmulke, the Jewish head covering, right? And after a few minutes, you wouldn't even feel it anymore. You'd think it's gone, and you'd check it, right? So it's the same thing with the mask. I sometimes forget it's on, I touch it, but then when I take it off, just like the yarmulke, then suddenly it feels like it's there, and I have to keep checking my eye.
Yeah. So sometimes I get mad at myself because I'm walking down the street with my mask on. I go, dude, what do you have your mask on for? And actually, this morning, because in New York, as you know, you wear a mask indoors if you want. It's not mandated, right? So it depends on where I'm at, right? Depends on where I'm at. do I wear a mask when I go indoors or not? So
Hmm.
I walk in Federal Express. I had to drop off a package this morning in Federal Express, and I walk in and I don't have my mask on. And it doesn't say you have to have a mask when you walk in the door, because if it does, it would remind me I've got my mask. And the lady looked at me like I killed all her children.
Right.
She was like, "You need a mask on." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And of course, I'm very much, you asked me to wear a mask, I'm going to get my mask. Put my mask on. I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it wasn't on." She was like so nasty. It was like, dude, it wasn't necessary to be nasty. You have a mask on. You know, I know you don't know if I'm vaccinated, but I am vaccinated. But and I felt bad. I even said, I said, "I'm very, very sorry." I didn't get close to her. She was behind plexiglass. But it's like, dude, you could have made that little moment that I felt embarrassed. You could have made me feel more welcomed and say, "Hey, no problem. I understand it happens." And if you're supposed to wear a mask in the store, it should be on the door. When you get to the counter, it says, "Please wear a mask." But I didn't see it walking the door. There's one place I go, and right there it says, "Do not enter unless you have a mask on." It always reminds me. I go to my car and I get my mask. Anyway.
Yep.
So I'm glad you're in Canada. I actually did a movie about smuggling across the border in Canada.
Oh.
Well, my movie is about going back and forth trying to get money through Canada.
Did you like take a little dinghy across the Great Lake or something? Like
No, it was actually in a submarine. The money, it was a casino. Obviously, it wasn't real. The movie was about a casino in Canada, and the mafia would take the money from Canada and bring it back to Brooklyn, and getting over the border.
Yes. All right. So Colleen says, "Is this Ask Glenn and Anthony Day?" Yes. Although it is Ask Anthony Day.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
I don't know, because I keep talking and not bringing in a guest, perhaps.
Or maybe it says Ask Anthony and Glenn Day.
Yeah, Matthew says arrive can is confusing. Even for driving day trips to BC, you need a quarantine plan. Right. I had to say that I was staying at this hotel in particular for my quarantine plan, even though I'm negative, right? Plus, you can't pre-scan your passport and vaccine card at home prior to 72 hours out. Right. You have to do it within that window.
What do you mean your quarantine plan? In case you have to quarantine, or you have to quarantine?
In case you have to quarantine.
But how about if the hotel doesn't have any rooms?
The wording on the site is confusing. But I just said that my plan would be to stay at this hotel, and I heard nothing about anything after that.
Wow, it's very complicated. I'll tell you, I'm in my little cubicle. I'm good. Actually, you know, it's funny. I've been off the road for 2 weeks, and I'm traveling tomorrow, and I'm going to start traveling again. And actually, my trip to Arizona got canceled. So I don't know if I'm going to be in Arizona with you. I may be doing it from New York. I'll tell you more about that later. But I'm not like looking like I was in a row getting back on the road. I'm not looking forward to get back on the road again.
So Colleen is saying, this goes in with what you're saying. So I'll tell you the truth. Do you really enjoy traveling, Anthony?
Oh, I love traveling.
Yeah.
But you know what? I really want to go on a cruise. I want to go on a 2-week, after we had the president of the Norwegian Cruise Line, and I've been seeing a lot of cruising videos. I really want to go, because the only time I'm really chilled out is when I'm on a cruise, because I have no place to go. It's kind of the same thing on an airplane. I don't work on an airplane. I used to, and they trusted me out, so I don't really work unless I'm preparing for a speech.
Yep.
And it's the only time I really get to shut my little brain off.
Yeah, and that's when they started putting on internet and all of that kind of stuff, I started worrying that it was going to infect the flight, because people can still find you. I've made a conscious effort not to get the internet package anymore while flying. I really need that time for downtime.
Yeah, I only do it for my kids, and just for my texting. If my kids, but what am I going to do from a plane? But still, it just in case, you know. So yeah, but I try to zone out. I watch documentaries when I'm on Delta. All of them.
I do too. I downloaded from Netflix that I started watching this cool documentary. They've got these amazing cameras now that can photograph at night. So it's all like, those great nature documentaries. This is beautiful shots of animals in the dark all over jungles.
Oh, wow.
It's really, really cool.
We'll talk about documentaries. Ken Burns just did one about Ali. I'm looking forward to watching.
Oh yeah, it's like 4 parts or something.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's on PBS.
Yeah. So to answer Colleen's question about me traveling, I don't know if I love traveling as much as I love getting there. That makes it all worth it. I don't like the process of leaving my house at 5 a.m. and going to the airport.
You like it or you don't like it?
I don't like that part, but I love getting there. I love when I'm there. And then I suddenly forget. Like the second I got into the car and I got into Route 2 and I start driving up, and there's big open skies and big plains here, everything melted away, and I just felt happy. And I will tell you, Anthony, I don't know about my belief system, but as I was thinking this, we passed through this one weird rain cloud, and then after it, I saw the most incredible rainbow that I have ever seen in my entire life. The whole thing, a whole arc from one side to the other, vibrant, full of color. It was an incredible moment that made me traveling all day worth it just to see that.
But you know what? Those moments are worth it. So I want you, being a very smart person from Long Island, I want you, what causes a rainbow?
I think it has to do with the light reflecting off of the mist in the air.
Well, one of our very smart people are going to post it. Okay. So it's Ask Anthony Day. So what are the questions that our producer, Suzanne, has for us today?
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Right, so I'll ask you this first one. SpaceX. Wow, that was really successful. Would you do one of those SpaceX trips?
No desire to blow up in space. None.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't even want to go like on a parachute jump or something.
No, listen, bro. I got claustrophobic sitting in the middle seat in an airport, an airplane. I'm going to get on a spaceship and go in space.
Right.
No. And as Randy from, what was that, America's Got Talent, or from American Idol, that's a no for me, dog.
Truth. You know what I would do, though? I will totally go to the new Space 220 restaurant at Epcot. That I will do.
Yes. So absolutely not. What is your favorite food to grill? Now, the reason she asked me that question is because I got a new Blackstone grill. I've never had a grill like that. So I had to do the spicing. I had to spice the grill to make sure it's perfect. Then it's got to, the heat's got to then, take all the spices off. Anyway, so I did that like 5 times this morning as I'm running around doing other things. And so I actually grilled. I haven't eaten in like 18 hours. I said, you know what? I'm going to grill since it's really hot. Because I was getting it ready. I put a hot dog on the grill. Anybody, this is my secret. I love hot dogs. And the older I get, the more I love hot dogs. So I put a hot dog on the grill this morning, or actually just about an hour ago. And it was amazing. So I would say my favorite thing to grill is a hot dog.
All right. Awesome. I love that. My favorite thing to grill is a good dry-aged ribeye steak.
Yes.
That is my absolute favorite thing to grill.
Yeah, I think I'll be doing a lot more grilling now that I have this grill outside. What makes you the most anxious about traveling before COVID, and how has that changed now? Glenn?
Yeah, I think what made me most anxious is making sure that I have everything I need, like all of the travel gear that I have to do with whatever equipment I'm using at that particular time in history, all of the right clothes. But then the thing that always stresses me out is the whole going through security situation, even though there's no reason for me to have any worries about that whatsoever. And is my flight actually going to get there? Not crash, just get canceled or have a weather delay or whatever.
Right. I'm sure there's no marijuana on your person going into Canada.
No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, on the customs thing, you have to declare if you're trying to bring in any cannabis products with you. But for those that are interested in that sort of thing, turns out that it's recreational use is legal. So there's dispensaries everywhere.
It's legal
everywhere. Yes.
So you can bring pot into Canada?
No, not across the border. But the second you go out of the airport, you can go to a dispensary and take care of yourself.
I don't smoke, but that's good to know.
Yeah.
I don't. Just being away from my kids, my family gets me anxious. But I just hope I don't really think about when I'm traveling. I just hope I don't find a moron yelling at a flight attendant on my flight. That would be hard for me to control myself and not say something. But I'd be the first one up if he did anything to hurt a flight attendant or yell or scream in her face. I'd be the first one up. It's like, they deal with enough. They're flying through a capsule, through the air at 50,000 feet, 300 miles an hour. They got enough things to worry about. God forbid, emergency. They don't have to deal about an idiot with a mask. You don't want to wear a mask on a plane. Don't get on an airplane. So it doesn't give me anxiety, but it just really pisses me off that this is happening.
Well, I don't understand why it's happening at all, because in order to fly, when you check into your flight, you have to say, click this box, you will wear a mask.
Because people have to express their power, and somehow they feel important when they are in an enclosed space. And now it's like, what are you going to do? I'm not wearing my mask. I got the power. I would like to knock that person out.
Right. I totally get that feeling. They started adding a new request on Delta that you're allowed to take your mask off when you're eating and drinking, but then they said, please wait until the flight attendant has moved beyond your aisle before you start eating and drinking and pull down your mask. I thought that was interesting, and I think the right move and respectful of making sure they stay healthy.
Listen, my point is, when you're traveling, there's so many rules to life. You know, if that's another rule, I mean, I always say one of the reasons this gig economy now that's taking off and everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. I like that. And I'll tell you why I like that. Because all our lives, there's a spoon on the table. When you're a little kid, you knock it off. Your mom says, don't do that. By the sixth time, she slaps your wrist. Right. Your whole life, you're being told, no. You go to college, sit there, don't do this, don't do that. Now, on top of all the other rules, you got to wear a mask on the plane. You got to do this, you got to do that. So there's so many rules. Just follow one more rule. What's the big deal?
Right.
But if you want to be empowered, then become an entrepreneur. Do what you want to do. Make those decisions, whether you go into the office and wear a mask or you don't. Whether you go and hang out with the people in the office that maybe you don't like. Now you don't have to, because you're an entrepreneur. You can make your own life. So if you're going to live in a world with other people, there are rules to follow. You want to go off and do your own thing. You want to be in the gig economy. You want to be an entrepreneur. You got to follow your own rules, and you can do what the hell you want. And if you don't want to travel for a client, you don't have to. Do a Zoom. You can literally never leave your house. You can call Amazon for everything. You can call Uber Eats for everything, and you never have to leave. So if you don't want to follow the rules, you can become an entrepreneur and stay home.
Right. I love that idea. And I'll tell you, man, it was doing this show from home. It was really a really nice treat to be able to be home all of that time. But I'm the type of guy that needs to be out there. I need to be doing.
Yeah. I go nuts if I'm not traveling, relatively often. But right. Like today, I have 6 different things to do. 3 things for my business, 2 things for our podcast, and 1 thing for my family. I would not be able to do that if I wasn't in my home today. Right. So it's really, so make your own decisions in life. But if you're going to make an agreement to get on a plane, a contractual agreement, live up to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or don't get on a plane. It really pisses me off. Listen, I'll be honest with you. When I go into a store, or if I'm walking down the street and everybody's wearing a mask and you're vaccinated and there's no one near you, yeah, I'm like, oh, come on, dude. What are you wearing a mask for? Like, you're 100 feet away from everybody. You walk on the street, you're vaccinated, and you're still wearing a mask. Okay, but that's your thing. It doesn't I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not for me. But why am I going to go and confront you because you're wearing a mask? My friend was confronted in the bagel store in my neighborhood because he was wearing a mask on a Saturday because his wife has underlying conditions, even though she's got the vaccine. She got very, very sick when she had COVID last year, and he's in a bagel store, and somebody confronted him in our neighborhood, and my friend was like countering him. I was like, dude, there's only 2 things to do. Okay, walk away. Or go outside and handle it. Why are you going to try to confront somebody and have an argument in the middle of a bagel store? Right. So those people, to me, are morons.
They absolutely are. And Mike McManus agrees. You can find him everywhere these days. Not a big deal. But Richard Majewski, I like this question. I don't know if I know I can't answer it. What percentage of hotels do you feel are on the GDS? And maybe let me add, if you don't know the answer.
All of them.
I think so. I think it's pretty much all of
them.
You
have to, if you're a hotel, you have to be on the global distribution system.
Otherwise, you
can't make reservations.
Right. So I was listening to a podcast. I love this podcast, Business Wars, and they're rerunning an American Airlines versus Southwest one, and they were talking all about how American Airlines basically invented the GDS and how all of that happened as a tool to make sure that travel agents would get American Airlines flights served up at the top.
Oh, really?
List. Yeah. As opposed to falling down. It's like, oh my God, it's like Google decades before Google.
Oh yeah. And they probably still use that DOS system, and there's ways to advertise on the GDS, and it looks, see our little private chat. That's what it looks like. That's what the GDS looks like when you're trying to advertise. So you're spending all this money to advertise to be on top of the GDS, and it looks like that. it's like no one's paying attention. It's boring.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if they still use DOS in the GDS. I think they do.
I think that that's why they're still considered those legacy systems, right? I mean, they may have some new visual way to do it, but it's still
Someone just said to me, there's a major company I would name nameless, and they said their technology in their rooms. The rooms are beautiful, but the technology is very old. I was like, changing technology in the hotel business is at glacier speed.
Yep. Yeah. And that's assuming glaciers are fast. I mean, they're really, really super, super, super slow. All right. Richard's also saying, interesting. We're going to be running a discussion for service apartments, corporate housing. Richard, I love the service apartment, corporate housing business. It's so super interesting. And Anthony, now that was one industry that was so far behind. You think the traditional hotel business was? That industry was insanely far behind up until recently. They were still dealing with you on the website, put an inquiry in and we'll get back to you within 48 to 72 hours and we'll call you or send you a fax or something like that.
Yeah, because it's not a dynamic business. Renting apartments isn't dynamic. You rent an apartment, you sign a contract, you give me a check every month, goodbye. The hotel business, at least there's a lot of things going on, right? There's a lot of systems to worry about. There's a lot of postings to go on. There's different entertainment facilities. So it's a lot different. So we're a little bit more tech savvy. So I can understand.
I'm talking these service apartments where you make a deal with Goldman Sachs and they send people to stay in a room for 5 days, 2 weeks, a month.
But that goes for the GDS.
It did not. It did not. Like if you were dealing with
if there was corporate apartments, well, it depends, I guess. The ones that I've dealt with that went through the GDS.
Well, you're smart. Most of them did not. They were really, really far behind. So before we go to some more questions, Anthony, there's a piece of news that came out on Friday that I thought was absolutely delightful. Now, it's not the first time a company has been trying to harness this particular industry from hospitality, but I do think that this one makes the most sense. Anthony, I'm talking about RV resorts, an industry that makes the service apartment industry and the hotel business look like they are the most futuristic, technologically involved business as well. These businesses are really, really far behind, but that's a business that's growing right now. And the company that is now looking forward to creating a place, well, they're creating a paradise. Of course, I'm talking about Margaritaville. They are going full in to Camp Margaritaville RV Resorts now to capitalize on that industry. What do you think of that?
They're the smartest people. I still can't. I am so used to going to corporate headquarters and being around corporate people, and it feels corporate. Everybody's kind of political and everybody's kind of like all buttoned up. You hang out with the executives of Margaritaville. They all seem like they're on vacation, but they get more shit done than any corporation I deal with. They're into everything, but they're having fun all the time.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great. I think, listen, you can't get an RV. I heard it's 6 months back order. So everybody wants to get on the road, man. I mean, you go on TikTok, every single person seems to be going on the road.
Yeah, it's very true. And this information that I got, they say that highly anticipated upscale destinations that they're going to build are tapping into a $38 billion RV industry, which is expected to nearly double by 2024 to $64 billion.
That's a place to buy some stock. I would live in an RV park as long as there's Four Seasons in the middle of it. Well, actually, Margaritaville is going to be like a Four Seasons, so I take that back.
Right, just a little bit more fun and lifestyle.
A lot more fun.
All right, so Suzanne has another question for us. There's a new term, ghosting, coasting, where a new hire works for a few days and moves on to the next restaurant without notice before they are let go due to lack of skills. What are you hearing about this, and what recommendations do you have to combat it? And I'll tell you, Anthony, when I was in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, I stayed at the Hotel Indigo, Baltimore, downtown. Thank you guys over at Chesapeake Hotels for that. And their struggle was they had kept hiring people, and they had like 3 or 4 people that were supposed to start the day before I got there. Nobody showed.
Yeah, it's a very, very big problem across the country. But I don't understand the whole ghosting, coasting. and then says they move on before they realize they have no skills. Well, if you work in a restaurant, and I've worked in my whole life, you learn the skills in the restaurant. So it really, it's not about skills. It's about, do you have the personality for it? So maybe they realize they leave before they realize they're just not nice people. Listen, like I said, this is a renaissance. This is a gig economy. People just are starting. Listen, I think I was talking to you about someone that I know very well, and I said, I'll tell you off camera, that a person that I respect a lot is moving on because they didn't want to work from home. Right. And that's a problem. You know, it's somebody here in New York, and they could have easily went in the office, but they didn't want to. And so they moved on to a different job. So listen, if you're not flexible, but even if you are flexible, now at the time, if I owned a restaurant, I would literally spend my entire time figuring out technology.
Yep.
And try to have as few employees as humanly possible. I would get everybody used to having all those barcodes on the QR codes on the table. I would get robots if I could, because this isn't going away, unfortunately. And just make sure the person greeting me at the door is very nice, and make sure the manager's nice. Outside of that, try to do your best to try to just reduce the amount of employees. There's a hotel, real quick. There's a hotel that I know of that, again, I won't mention, that they changed the entire dynamic of the hotel through construction. They went from 1, 2, 3, 4 restaurants and 3 bars to 1 restaurant, 1 bar. They're going to reduce their gross revenue by 50%, but their profitability will be only about 4 or 5% less than it was.
Wow.
Because through really doing a better job through technology and understanding that the cost of FTEs is high, and especially if you're in New York in the union.
Yeah. Wow. That is fascinating that somebody is going ahead and doing that. Now,
I'll buy you a drink at that hotel very soon.
We're talking about flexibility. And that's one of the issues that I'm going to be talking about tomorrow when I speak to the Alberta Hotel and Lodging Association. And if you remember, we had Mark Ricketts on. He was the president of McNeil Hotels. And I discovered that they're doing something really interesting at hotels that are near each other. They're starting to share staff. So if this hotel can only give you X amount of hours, well, the one down the street that they operate can also give you X amount of hours. And if you want to get some more hours, this gives you an opportunity to tap into the power of multiple properties to be able to, get yourself the money that you're looking to achieve through a job.
Yeah, and that makes sense as long as everybody is being cooperative when it comes to their flexibility of schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amy is asking, I don't think you have this on hand, but maybe you remember some. The stats that you talked about at the AHOA conference, the amount of luxury properties and stuff owned by AHOA members.
Well, I'll give you overview numbers. They're not 100% accurate, but very close. 60% of all hotels in America are owned by the Indian community. The majority of pipeline hotels are owned by the Indian community. Pipeline hotels means hotels that are in the pipeline, either construction or pre-construction or just about to come out of construction. And also, this was the number that blew everybody away. Mm-hmm. 40% of all luxury properties are owned by the AHOA community. Now, anybody listening from the executive team of AHOA, correct me if I'm wrong on any of those numbers. Exactly. But it was fascinating. And what I did when they asked me to present these numbers that they worked on so hard to get, was to really tell the community, the AHOA community, you guys have worked really hard for decades to basically dominate this industry. And I truly believe because of that community, the brands hold them to a high standard. They hold the brands to a high standard. And I really believe it's really difficult to check into a bad hotel in America today. 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it was very easy to check into a bad hotel. You have to really not pay attention if you're going to check into a bad hotel. You really do. Yeah. You're basically taking a shot. It shocks me. I get DMs every single day from people that check into bad hotels. I'm like, don't you have the internet? You found me on the DM. You don't have the internet? Like, how did you check? Like, I go online. Sometimes I respond, sometimes I don't. I'll go online, and like they're in last place on TripAdvisor. Like, come on, I'm not going to tell you what you should do or go. You know how many people ask me every week to go fix these hotels?
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go.
That's too funny. We were talking about the struggle to find employees and stuff like that, and it just occurred to me. Last week was National Housekeeping Week, and to celebrate, we're helping to promote. Cintas is doing a great thing to help promote housekeepers and doing a great contest over there. So I'd love for you guys to enter the Shine Awards. And you could do that by entering any of your housekeepers that are out there, and you'll have a chance for that individual to win money. But not just that. Also, your hotel will get all sorts of great cleaning supplies. It's doing the right thing. Celebrate the people that work hardest in your hotel. Go to cintas.com/Shine Awards now. Entries end Friday, so you better get on it. Oh, on Friday, October 15th. Either way, you've got less than a month. You know how it goes. If you don't do it right away, you're not going to get to it. Do it right now. Right, Anthony?
Right. Thank you so much for bringing that up. It's a great program. And listen, anything you can do. I was just having a conversation with somebody, and they said, somebody in the hotel said, well, I shouldn't do that. It's beneath me. And it was nothing. I won't even go into it because I don't want the person that the story's about to yell at me for telling the story. And I was like, what? And it's like, housekeepers clean toilet bowls.
Mm-hmm.
It was this young man that I work with. And I was just like, dude, people clean toilet bowls every single day. And they're asking you to do this. And that's beneath you. Give me a break.
Right. Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
There's nothing, as Jerry Anzarella would say, we're servants, and there's nothing beneath us in the service industry.
Well, if I wasn't before, after I had babies, everything changed. None of that stuff grosses me out.
Well, I didn't realize you had babies. I thought your wife had them. Wow, you really are a miracle.
Richard is also saying, yes, it is U.S.-based Indian Americans that have come. Yes, there's lots of Indian millionaires, but we're specifically talking about the first generation of folks that came over in the 1970s and really helped create the modern hospitality industry here in the United States.
Yeah, and work their ass.
There in the United States, I'm in Canada.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what other question we got there? Anybody else got questions for us?
Yeah, guys, you have a question out there, throw them in the box. But in the meantime, Horst Schulze was recently named the recipient of the 2021 Historic Hotels of America Legacy of Innovation and Inspiration Award. And he's getting that award in November. So based on that, what do you think stands out most about his legacy that's going to really carry on to set the tone for hospitality for, ad infinitum?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen was obviously, it came out of his company and his mind and his team's mind. And I think that legacy is maybe that verbiage is long in the tooth, but that feeling of we're all here, we're all serving each other. Employees have to be treated like ladies and gentlemen, guests have to be treated like ladies and gentlemen. So I think that's his legacy, respect. Mm-hmm. His ability to set a standard higher to that standard and hold to that standard. Mm-hmm. I think that's his legacy.
Yep. Yeah, I think so too. Beautifully said. Micah's asking, what matters most today? TripAdvisor, Travel and Leisure List, or Forbes Travel Guide? A little bit of a loaded question there.
I think wherever you feel most comfortable to get your information. Educated consumer is your best customer. Yep. That's from what is that? That Coke company.
Astro right? Convertible?
No, it was a Coke company. It was the Coke company will come out every September with all those ads before the winter. Burlington Coke Factory.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, I think that was it. Simmons. I don't know. Somebody will bring it up on there.
I'm going to bring it up right. Yes, Sims. Sims said that. The Sims Corporation. Yeah. Oh, too bad they're gone. Yeah, I remember going there for my bar mitzvah suit, dude.
Yeah, I went there for my Easter suits. I didn't know there was bar mitzvah suits. I wonder if a mitzvah suit and the Easter suit's the same suit.
Yeah, pretty much. Yours might have been a little more colorful.
I look at TripAdvisor as my first go-to. Personally, I'm going to tell you what I look at. Yep. Is my first go-to. If I am going to a place I'm completely unfamiliar with, and there's not brands, like because I'll go to TripAdvisor, look for the brand I'm used to, and as long as it's where I know my brand is, as far as quality, then I'm like, okay, that is another good hotel in that brand. I'm going to go. But if I'm going to an area where there's no brands, then I'm going to do a little bit more search. I'm going to go on TripAdvisor. I'm going to go on the third parties. I'm going to go to their website. I'm just going to really spend a little bit more time before I do that.
Right. Yeah, makes sense. All right. This is a really good question here. And this one's coming from Rick Ringo. Enjoy feedback in providing signing bonuses to recruit employees that stayed home during the peak of COVID, as opposed to current employees who were there the whole time. Now, Anthony, I saw this issue on some Facebook groups, and it was really, really heated with people going back and forth about it.
I don't understand the question.
Well, there's a lot of signing bonuses that are going on. Come work for us, get $1,000, right? But there's a whole other contingent of people who are like, we've been here the whole time. You're punishing us. You're not giving us the money. It's kind of the same thing I feel like when I see the cell phone companies, the like new customers get, a cheap rate for the first year. What about me? I've been with you for 20 years.
I will just speak to the way I would do business if I was the owner of the company or the hotel. I would not give sign-in bonuses until I can compensate the people that stayed with me and did not take that first job that offered them more money, that not take that job that offered them better benefits. I would make sure that they're taken care of. I would almost have a poll. Does everybody feel taken care of? Now we're going to have to spend X amount of dollars to hire new recruits so we can maintain our standards. We've already dispersed $50,000 in bonuses throughout our company. We are now going to spend $50,000 on recruiting new people because it's very, very challenging.
Right.
Some of you may not agree with that, but we need to reduce the workload for you guys, and that is the only way we're finding it successful. That's how I would go about it. I would never allow somebody that's staying home that went through the last 18 months protecting my butt and then giving somebody else a sign-in bonus why this person doesn't get any bonus. I would not do that personally, but I have to be in the environment. I have to work on those budgets. So everybody's got to deal with their budgets, their policies, their standards. But personally, it would be very difficult for me to do that. Listen, transparency is everything. Employees will understand as long as you explain it. But if I found out the guy basically is making the same amount of money as me and he got a $5,000 sign-in bonus, I would piss the F off.
Yeah, I would be too. It's just like it feels unfair to the people that have been most loyal to you through this topic. It's very complex and there's a lot of different sides to it. So
it's not complex. It's very easy. Take care of your employees that are working for you. Make sure that they understand why you have to spend that money. And if you can't give them money and say, listen, we only got 50 grand, we got to hire people, explain to them why, and then say, listen, in 90 days, in a year, in 2 years, in 3 years, whatever, we'll be able to give you that money. But right now we're in survival mode. Communicating, transparency. Yep. People understand that.
Yvonne thinks that was an excellent answer, and I agree with you.
How are you, my friend?
That was, and Rick also agrees. Great logic. Yeah, transparency is everything, and I think that's been really the centerpiece of your entire hospitality career, is being open and honest with people, even in cases where they don't want to hear reality. It's better to be truthful than not.
I'm telling you, as I get older, there's two things. I am brutally truthful, or I'm brutally quiet. There's no arguing anymore. I am not arguing with people anymore. Same thing with I just don't argue with people, politics or anything. I just don't argue. I'm either going to be brutally honest and say you're an asshole and I just don't want to deal with you, or I'm just going to say thank you very much. I appreciate your time and never talk to you again.
Right.
There was something I saw and I feel the same way. The people that are in my crew, whether it be you, my friends, my family, I'm good. That's it. I don't need anything. There's too much. There's too many complications right now with people.
Right.
People are crazy, and everybody's got to feel like their point of view. I just had lunch. This is interesting. I just had lunch with a friend of mine last week who was my best friend, one of my best friends from high school. We hadn't spoken for say 15 years because there was no Facebook, there was no internet. So I lost track with everybody. I went in the military, whatever. We saw each other at the skating ring when our kids were small. We became friends again. And from time to time, we see each other. And we've become important to each other again. So I saw him post something on Instagram that I was opposed to, dramatically opposed to. I was kind of pissed off by it, and I was angry about it. I was like, how do you think that way? Okay. Now I said, he's important to me. He asked, hey, you want to go to lunch? And I was kind of ignoring him for once or twice. And I was like, all right, he asked me the third time, I'm going to go. I said, I hope that this is good and that me and him don't lose our friendship. We sat down, we ate, we had a great lunch, and a few things came up. And we agreed to disagree, and we hugged and we kissed. And we said we love each other. And we said our relationship's too important. I don't understand your point of view. I actually think I changed a few, not changed, but gave him some information he wasn't quite aware of. And he didn't really change my point of view. But the point was we had what I was used to having when I was younger, a conversation and a disagreement. That's it. We didn't scream and abuse each other because of our political differences.
Yeah, thank goodness, right? I find it great to not bring up politics from time to time. In fact, I made it very clear to the good folks over here that we wouldn't be doing anything politically motivated. In fact, Anthony, tomorrow up here in Canada is an election for the prime minister. So we'll see what happens. So tensions are running a little.
Yeah, I heard it was a really good. A lot of people came out for it, as I understand. But and I'll tell you, one of the things was I asked him before he got there. I was a little nervous because I didn't know if he was vaccinated, not vaccinated. And I said, "Hey, are you vaccinated?" And he said, "Yes," because if he wasn't, I was going to eat on the patio. Because I'm not going to eat inside with someone that's not vaccinated. Just not my thing, right? That's my decision. But I'll eat with him gladly outside. Mm-hmm. So he goes, no, I'm vaccinated. So we sat down. So he goes, yeah, I am vaccinated, but I didn't want to get vaccinated. And he had to get vaccinated because his kid was going back to college. And anyway, he had to go, whatever. So he went and he didn't want to get vaccinated. And so we had a very nice conversation about it. Mm-hmm. And I gave him my clear point of view about, how I feel. And we had, like I said, we had a great conversation. And if you can't talk civil, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, makes a whole lot of sense. All right, Anthony, what do you say about us wrapping this up and getting out of here today?
It's 52 minutes already. Oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
We could do this all day, buddy.
We really could.
Cancel from now on.
As a matter of fact, everybody, we have so much fun doing these types of shows. We decided we're going to do, I think, 2 of these a month going forward. We're going to try to make them on Thursdays, but we really love interacting with you out there, answering the questions that you have and making you more part of a show. Plus, Anthony and I like talking a lot, and sometimes those guests take up all our chances to talk.
Yeah, and I also look forward to it because I really sometimes I want people to see your personality, my personality a little bit more. And I want to answer one question that Suzanne asked because I think it's a fun question.
Yeah, which one?
What is the most risk-taking, thrill-seeking thing you've ever done, Glenn?
I've not done much risk-taking, thrill-seeking stuff. I think, like, for me, it's like, honestly, it would be like being alone in Shanghai, China for 24 hours on my own.
Yeah, well, that's fun. It's really...
But it's not risk-taking. I've always been risk-adverse. Like, I never did, like, when bungee cords became a thing when I was in college, I never did that. I've only rented mopeds a couple of times because one time my friend hit his moped into mine and I hit my head. And I'm not good at things that with risk at all. Okay. Like the riskiest I might be is like maybe I'll eat sushi at that place over there that I'm a little unconfident.
That has a C on the window. if you're in a city that has A, B, and C from the health department, you have to if you get inspected and you do well, it's an A. If you B or C, right. You don't eat in that restaurant, and you don't eat in the restaurant that says pending. Anyway, so if you see a C and you're eating in a sushi restaurant, you are a risk taker.
Right. Hey, Sharon, thanks for saying that. I sent you an email last week in response to yours. I haven't heard back from you yet. I'm worried it's in spam. Please check. All right. Okay.
So the most risk-taking thing I've done, I'm a person that will race a car, but I won't jump out of an airplane because I don't pack my parachute. Mm-hmm. I the wheel of the steering wheel. So I like taking risks. As I get older, I don't take as many. But I would say the thing that I've done that was on my bucket list was about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I was on the Autobahn in Germany. And I got in a sports car, and the guy let me take it for 150, 160, 170. I was flying. and it had no roll bar, and it was made out of like a tin can, and I was flying.
Yeah.
And my camera guy, we did 2 times. One, the guy was in the car with me, and then my camera guy wanted to get a better shot, so it was only 2-seater. So the guy let us take the car, and I had to do it again. I was going so fast that I literally, everything just went black on me, and I was like, that's it? Like, you exceeded your level of comfort?
Mm-hmm.
You're done. And I slowly hit the brake.
Yep.
And then when I came back, I told him how fast I went. The gentleman on the car, he goes, you could have went faster. I was like, my my fear level was, I think, 160 miles an hour, and then I was done. So that's probably the most, that was something I've dreamt about since I'm a kid. And the Autobahn, I thought it was like this black, asphalt, dark road. It looks like a highway. It's a regular highway. And parts of the Autobahn, trucks have to go onto the side of the road on certain stretches and stay there on the weekend until Monday morning. They're not allowed to travel over certain stretches on the weekends. And we actually had a really great opportunity when we pulled off to go to a service station. There was a trucker with a full kitchen on his grill cooking. He had like this thing that he hooks up, and he had a full kitchen. He made a soup and he made us lunch, and right from his grill of his truck. So that was cool.
That is cool. And speaking about the driving thing, years ago, I used to do some writing for AAA magazine, right? Which was really cool for their
and
travel.
You used a pencil instead of a pen.
No, I'm not that crazy. Come on, please. So I went to the BMW manufacturing plant in South Carolina, and I had the opportunity to go to their proving grounds with a professional driver. And he took me on a just crazy race around the racetrack, and was doing spins and all of that kind of stuff. And for me, that was probably the most riskiest thing I think I've actually ever done.
I went upstate to Poconos and trained about 5 or 6 times to learn how to race cars. And my friend has a certificate, and I'm thinking about going, but I don't think I'd be good at it anymore because I just don't want to crash.
Yeah, exactly.
So whereas before I didn't realize I can crash, now it's like, you know what? I don't want the risk of having to sit in a wheelchair the rest of my life.
Yeah, I don't. Right. Totally. Exactly. All right, everybody. Let's bring this show home. A little show note. There will be a show tomorrow, but it won't be live. We're pre-recording it this afternoon, so we won't be able to respond to comments on tomorrow's show. Wednesday and Thursday, we'll be back live as normal. Now, if you want to listen to the show instead of watch the show, of course, you know how to find us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we are. If you want to reach out to us personally, he, of course, is at Anthony Hotels, and I am at Traveling Glenn. Any final words, Anthony?
Thank you, my brother. Be careful in Canada.
I will be. The good news is everyone here is super polite, so I know I'm going to have a really great time. It's so great. I walked into, like I said earlier, I walked into this bar last night, just got into a conversation with someone, turned out to be one of the owners, and I wound up hanging out with him and his whole crew of people watching Sunday Night Football. It was a whole lot of fun.
No, that's great.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
see you tomorrow.
So are you going to win